No, that yeah.
Interesting. Although maybe to be conservative in my modelling, I might just assume that given you'll be a much smaller business, won't you, without all the B2C rides and journeys, and so you'll need to
Yeah,
attract your drivers and retain your drivers from joining the sort of Uber bear model
absolutely.
somehow. So
Yeah,
maybe
no, that
safe or conservative to assume there is sort of either they're employees or you're paying more to keep them in some way.
that was exactly the point I was just about to make, and I think we touched on this last time we spoke. Is that it almost doesn't matter, the driver's got to earn X amount in order to, as you say, to keep him. So the B2C stuff subsidises his income from Addison Lee's point of view, which means they can afford to pay him less per job for the account work. But yes, I mean, it's interesting you say that 17%. I would have probably said between 15 and 20 was where I would have said that where your margin would probably be. EBITDA. But I suppose, and that's assuming. I said that the other one that's just brought to mind is where the vehicle cost is in the TriStar numbers pre-acquisition, because obviously that's slightly different in Addison Lee's case. I'm not sure if the driver would be contributing towards it, but then that should be as long as it's broad, because let me think, because the car cost should be broadly neutral, I would suppose, because although the driver's contributing towards it, you're giving bonuses and credits back to him for which effectively bring that cost down to very little for the driver. So it's seen as a cost in one company, and then there's revenue in another, if you know what I mean.
Right.
The 15 to 20%, again, that's EBITDA, but then what assumptions you make about what your depreciation or the rest of it. But I suppose, because there is, you're going to be leasing those vehicles, so there is some capital cost on them. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That would be helpful. As you were running through that, I was sort of reminding myself that it would be good to have a little refresher on the, I guess, the sort of driver maths for driving for Addison Lee versus the Uber driver maths, and also exactly how the vehicle sort of financing works and costs sort of shared with drivers, etc. If that's okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how they account for it now, because I know there's something they've tried to do. So there's an issue with capital allowances on vehicles. So I think there was some, some financial engineering on behalf of the EY put together, which effectively is for tax purposes. But assuming that the depreciation costs when they were held on balance sheet all was sat below the line, I imagine they wouldn't have done anything accounting-wise, that it would basically come in, it will be up to EBITDA, that's for certain. Otherwise, it would, cock up all the metrics and the covenants and everything like that, because that's all where they were all around. But no, basically, the vehicle would be purchased, or leased, whatever way, how you treat it, and effectively paid for with a balloon over 4 years, I should imagine. Well, that's how it was done previously. So you've got the cash and interest cost of that on a monthly basis, unless they're doing it differently, which I'd have to have a look in detail and try and pick through it, but it's not particularly obvious. But you
paid
have
for
got
with
that
a
cost.
balloon means what exactly?
Sorry. So what you do is you say the cost of the vehicle was £20,000. Okay. You would effectively say, well, I know in 4 years' time it's definitely going to be worth £5,000. So I then finance the 15,000 difference straight line over the remaining those 4 years, and then the last payment is a £5,000 balloon payment. So effectively, the cash going out of the business is less. Your interest cost is going to be higher because you're not reducing your debt as quickly. But it would definitely be done there because cash is king, and you want to keep as much cash in the business rather than building an asset into a vehicle that you're then going to sell for 5,000 and release the cash at that point. So effectively, what you're doing is you're paying pretty much the actual depreciation as you go. You're buying it, at a very healthy discount. So, and most of the lenders would be happy to finance in that way.
Right.
So, so the other would be, so that's more normal for a car. If it was a bus, then they do it straight line because they'll do it over a longer period. But 4 to 5 years is usually the longest you'll get on finance for a car, which is obviously doing a lot of miles. So because it's in use, 6